Okay, carving gloves on, folks. A new posting from Smoogleville. It's been a minute, hasn't it? But we're going to actually post a carving video, a whittling if you like. I'm going to hopefully do a series of these because this is something that I've been doing of late. And the project we're going to tackle today is these little fellas here. I've got a pair of earrings made from basswood, or if you're in Europe it's lime. And I'll show you. It's very simple to do. Here's a pair I made earlier. Okay, let's show you those. Now I can get the thing to focus in. There you go. And it's very simple and quick to do. It takes about 15-20 minutes to carve each one of these, and so I'll do one real time so you can see how long it takes, and show you how to make these little fellas. So let's put them there. Great gifts for your significant other. I'm going to first of all put on my Kevlar carving glove. This is one piece of equipment, safety equipment I would highly recommend, especially if you're getting into the hobby for the first time. And the rest of it, very simple. We need a stropping board, which is really just a piece of plywood with leather glued to it, with the rough side up on that side and the smooth side up on that side. This was made for me by a dear friend, and he even did a leather stamp in it as well. This is my go-to stropping board, if you like. So we'll use that in a moment to sharpen up the knife. And you need some strop as well, which is just sort of a waxy, chalky, impregnated with aluminum oxide. That will get a very sharp finish on our knife. And for that, I'm going to use this flex cut. This is a great starting knife. It's a roughing knife. I got this from Tree Line. They're pretty easy to get hold of, and about $30 with a holster like this. I think this set was something like $30, $35, something like that. And I've got an 1 3/4 whittling knife there. Okay, and so the first thing we'll do is I'll show you how to keep your knife sharp. It arrived sharp, and it's actually a really nice knife. I've been using a David Lyons as my go-to knife. This is another one. These are hard to get though, so he only makes small batches of them. They're not, crazy expensive. They're a very nice knife. But to get started, you might have a little trouble getting these. I think, again, I got this from Tree Line. But if you leave your email, they will email you when there's some in stock, because they're usually out. They get a batch in and they sell really quickly because they're very popular and they're very nice knives. But to get started, I would go with a flex cut. It's a US made knife. It's nice. Very nice, actually. And I really like the shape of this because it goes to a very sharp point. It smooths down to a point there. And that's good for, you can do a little detail with the end there. Right, first job is to just tickle that with the strop. And I would do this, if I'm doing a lot of carving, about once an hour. We take some of the stropping compound here, and I'm just going to rub that onto my leather, onto the rough side there, like that. So we just get an even coating of the aluminum oxide. This is really the secret to carving. It gets the knives so sharp, and you really want very sharp knives for carving. It actually makes it safer. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to place the knife. Let's start with it away. I'm going to place that, and I'm just going to lift it up so I can feel that's probably about 15 degrees, maybe less. I'm just going to pull that toward me like that with the blade facing away. I'll do about 10 or 12 strokes of that. I'm just giving it a polish. I'm not, you don't really ever need to put these on any kind of a stone. I've never had to, or just stropping has kept all my knives in very good shape. Very rare I have to get them up onto a stone or a diamond block or something to sharpen them. They stay, once you get the angle right, like I said, this came sharpened, so once you get the angle right, and just keep them keep them polished with the strop, and it'll stay sharp for endless projects. Just do it about once an hour. Whenever you start to feel it's not at its best. Alright, so do that about 10 or 12 times in each direction, making sure you get the tip. This is a bit longer than my stone, so I tend to angle it to make sure that this part is travelling on the leather as well, like that, and that should give you a nice sharp. And then I've got the smooth leather on the back, and I just do the same there, just to back this off and give it a final polish, but I don't put any strop on there, as you can see. Actually, this was made by, I think I said that already, a dear friend of mine, and I wouldn't want to get all this fouled up with strop, and it wouldn't do any good on this smooth side anyway. So just like that, so you can just feel the edge of the blade rolling over that, and you're ready to go. So that's your sharpening. Okay, so let's put that aside. Now the material to use, as I mentioned, is basswood or lime if you're in Europe, and it's a very straight grain, very light, almost like balsa wood almost. Very easy to work, cuts beautifully, takes paint beautifully, really good material. So what I'm going to do, I made one of these earlier, so I'm going to use it as a model for the next one. But the first thing we need to do is kind of sharpen this more or less like a pencil. So I'm just going to take the material and I'm just going to take the knife down about 1.5 inches or 1.75 inches, whatever, and just start shaving away at that. Just get rid of some material, particularly at the end there, because this is going to shape our tree, and I'm using my thumb to push into the wood and give me a little more leverage on it, like that. All right. So you have to be a little careful with that, because particularly be aware of which way the grain is going when you're doing this as well. But let's sharpen that up. And I want to bring it to, well, just get your tree shape, roughly, the outline of it. I'm going to actually cut a little bit off the end of that, just to flatten it. Okay. Just pulling the knife across like that. I want to end up with about a 1/4 of an inch diameter at the top there. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's the whole point of these. They're kind of, they look a little higgledy-piggledy. It makes them more, gives them more character, makes them more interesting to look at. All right, so we just make this, sharpen it like a pencil, like that. Get it to roughly the tree shape we want. Again, leave a bit of surface up here, because when we stick a push pin in later to paint it and ultimately screw some hardware in there, we don't want it too narrow. If it's too sharp, it'll just split when you put the pin in. All right. So here we go. Do that. So that's getting roughly to the right shape. Okay. Like I said, it feels like sharpening a pencil, really. You just want to make sure that you've kind of rounded it off far enough down to pick up on the detail. Now, the next thing I'm going to do here is I'm just going to kind of eye this across. So let's line that up. Make sure the tops are roughly level. And then I'm just going to touch on there with the knife and then give it a little wiggle on the blank there, coming across as straight as I can to get a little mark like that, you can see, and then go to the bottom here and get a mark on that. So you can kind of see, you can use a pencil for this as well, but I'm trying to make a pair of earrings, so I want them to kind of match up in terms of, in fact that top one looks a little, actually looks a little high to me. Yes, it is, compared to that one. That one's about right. So I needed to go up with that first one, so let's make that a bit bigger. Alright, if that looks good, and I've got my mark at the bottom here, I'm going to kind of go round as best I can. This is going to make the base of the tree. Okay. Doesn't matter if it doesn't meet exactly, it'll all come out in the end. Alright, so let's turn that like that. Yeah, like that. Now, next thing I'm going to do, and this is called a stop cut. So where that line is, I'm going to push in a little deeper. Alright. And some carvers will use their thumb to get more depth. We don't want to go too deep. I just want to then take out a shaving like that, and we'll come back a bit. When I do this, I'm actually starting to make the next earring because I'm making the angle there. Alright, so again, let's push that in. Not too deep, but just enough to make sure I can clear a couple of good chips out of there, like that. Okay. Alright, and same here. Put my thumb on it to get a bit more depth. And then, I think that the secret is to not get greedy. If I go too deep, I shave half of this off as well. The knife slips and shaves half of it off. I'm basically having to start again. So I'll have to recover from that one, but let's get that. Notice I'm kind of going to the corner. So I'm lining the knife up with the corner to start with. Again, let's give it a little push to get some depth. And then use my thumb to just gently, with control, that's the thing. You know, I'm using this thumb and this hand to control it. Very often this thumb's doing a lot of the cutting. Pressure, if you like. And then we just go around like that. Clean that out a bit, just to get a general sense of where the bottom of the tree is at. Like that. Don't want to go too deep because we're going to be working our way up. So you want plenty of strength here, so we don't want to take too much of this off yet. When we parch this off later, then obviously we'll get it a lot skinnier, but until it falls off. But I'll show you that bit next. So let's just get that in. It's about half the material is left on there. This knife is doing a very nice job. Very pleased with this little flex cut. You know, used to think maybe they were an entry-level knife, but you know, it's cutting every bit as good as my David Lyons. Alright, okay, good. Really nice. Really nice knife, that. Okay, that'll do. I want to leave enough strength, like I said, so we don't want to take too much. Don't want to go in too far, so there we go. Now I remember I marked where my tears were going to go, and so I'm going to just start working my way around these now. So let's I'll just rotate it, I think, just to get them roughly. And it doesn't matter if they go a bit higgledy-piggledy. It just gives the tree a little more interest. Gives it a bit more character. Just go around again. Right. Okay, and now I'm going to use a series of stop cuts to as I go round. So let's start here, and again, you can push it in with your thumb if you like to get a bit of depth, and then I'm going to go in and just take a chip like that. Don't get greedy, and I'll just work my way around that line I've made, let the knife follow that, and then I cut. So up cut, stop cut. You've got a kind of a stop cut there now with the groove you did when you go around the first ring there. And I'm probably going to go around 2 times like this. And notice I'm cutting up, sort of a sweeping up motion. Can you see that? This autofocus isn't doing us any favours, is it? I'll adjust that in a moment. Let's finish this ring. Let's do a stop cut like that. And then like that. Alright. Okay, I'm going to to set the focus on this camera, I think, to this distance, because this is where I'm working. Okay, I've got it set on manual focus, I think. So as long as I stay in this area, we'll be good. Right, so I'm going to be, as I do this, just gently sweeping up with the knife, like that, and go click, and click, like that. Take each little shaving off. It doesn't matter if they're kind of flat. This is flat plane carving, meaning you can see the flats of the knife as part of the finished texture, and it just, well, gives it a carved look. You can tell it's hand done then. You know, not done on a lathe or something. Unless that's the look you're looking for, I guess, but I like to keep the planes visible. Makes it more interesting. Alright, so that's that. Let's now do the next level. Same thing again. I'm using my thumb to push up just in a controlled way. You don't want to slip, and because if you're just doing it brute force with all of this hand, you're gonna take the side off. Alright, but if you control it with your thumb, start at the very bottom of that and then let it dip in and then snap it off with a stop cut, or you can do the stop cut first and cut to it. Probably a bit safer in many ways in terms of not messing up your material. Go around again. Like that. And again. Go around once. And then let's do another stop cut. And as you can see, I'm trying to maintain the flats, and I'm scooping up with the knife so you get a sort of a more interesting shape. So go around again. Don't want to go too deep, but make it interesting. High relief is always nice when you're carving. Too shallow and it doesn't look as good for some reason. Get the depth. There we go. And that's left some quite good flats on there. Well, that was a bit deep. It's very flat across there. That wasn't ideal, that one. I went a little too hard on that. But we'll get away with it, I'm sure. Yeah, by the time we've done the next piece. Right, last piece. Again, you don't want to go too narrow here, because when I start pushing on that, I don't want to snap the top off. It's happened. It's happened to me. I went too deep on another one and it top popped off, so I had to start again. But it's all good practice, right? Like that. Let's get round once. I've got to be careful not to take too much off these upper branches, as it were, because it'll just get too weak, and we want to leave some strength in the top there to work the top part, because I'm going to be doing some cutting. So let's go around again, but just gentle cuts, and again a little bit of a sweep, but not too deep. It's probably getting close. Don't want to go much deeper than that. There we are. Yeah. Alright. And then finally I'm going to scoop the top, but I almost want to just make a dent in it. I don't want to get, again, I don't want to get in too too thin at the top here because I've got to push a pin in there, and I don't want to split the wood when I do that. So let's just make little scoops like that. Go around, just to give the top again a bit of interest in the shape. Oops, careful now, don't take too much off. Alright, now having done that, a couple of clean-up things. One thing I like to do, and this is up to you, I just like to put a little bevel on the top there. So I just take out little planes all the way around, just to give it, you know, a rounder look, but without reducing the amount of wood up there to the point where I won't be able to screw a little fitting in there for the earrings. Alright, and leave myself a little land here, so there's plenty of meat for the thing. Now, before I cut any more off, and I've forgotten to do this before now, I'm going to actually cut some little V's in there. So I'm just going to put the knife in very gently at an angle, and just go in a, you know, 1/16 or something, and get a little slot cut out like that, a little triangle, and that gives it a bit more interest as well. Let's see that fall out of there. Actually, it didn't. Come on. There he goes. Alright, just to give a hint of, you know, branches, I guess. Oh, where did that go? There. It's such a fine blade, it's hard to see where I cut. Now, come the other side of it and get that little triangle to come out there, like that. Tease that out, about 3 at the top, there's not much more room. Again, you don't want to take too much off because you're going to weaken it. If you push a pin in the top to do the painting and it's going to split, it'll do it where these are. So I can probably get a 4th small one on there. Yeah, like I said, not much, just a kind of hint at a branch being there, or a bow, I guess you could call it. Right. Repeat that down on the other levels, not lined up. I tend to go in between, just to keep it interesting. Up to you, how you want to do it. No? It's your tree. Have it your way. Oh, that was a big one. But be careful not to overdo this. Now that one's kind of lined up with the bottom one, isn't it? I don't know, just seems to. There we go, now that's lined up with that one, so I could do a little one next to it, real tiny. Just to spread the love around a bit there. Spread the joy. And one more. Maybe. Just a little bitty one here. There we go. And now, next tier. Okay. Bottom tier, you can do these a little deeper if you want. You've got a bit more scope for that. You've got a lot more strength there, so you can push harder and make them a little deeper for more definition. Again, high relief. Always go for that when you can. There. That was kind of neat. Alright, now then. Having done that, now we need to make the little trunk. If you're going to do that, a few of them I've made without one. It's just if you wanted a shorter earring, less dangly, I guess you could just par it off right now. But I'm going to leave a little stalk on there. So again, back to the knife. Just oh, you know what I will do? You see all these little bits here? If I put the knife at the right angle and just turn it gently, I can just clean up the bottom of those branches, and it helps to knock out any little tangs under there as well. Fluff. Cut the fur off, you know. So again, let's turn it like that. Just taking off the tiniest bit, just so you can feel the knife cutting something, you know. Like that. Just go around once. Make sure you've got all the little, and sometimes I find, look, that's gone a bit, I need to go a bit deeper there. That's a bit shallow, that one. Let's just tidy that up. So you do it tidy up while it's still got plenty of meat on it. Just go around it, make sure it all looks, you know, decent. The look you want, whatever you want. That cleans that up, and now I'm going to do the stem. And so what I'll do is I'll take the one I did earlier. I'm trying to make an earring that's going to match that one. My top's a bit fatter on this one, but we'll just carry on anyway. Sometimes I end up making another pair. If one's too different, I'll make two more and try and match them. Anyway, let's get the length of that stem, which is about, there's an eye across that. It's a bit hard to see, it's in shadow there, but about there. Actually, let's take some more off before I mark that. So I'm going to go around again. And doing this, I'm sort of starting to carve the next earring, really, aren't I? Now, I like to have flat planes on it. I don't necessarily want to make it perfectly round, so I'm not shy about having a, you know, like a more of a octagonal tree trunk under there. And notice I'm cutting a sweeping up as well, so I'm taking more off down here, and then I'm trying to get it straighter, travelling straighter at the top there, so we get so the stem doesn't look too weird. We're getting close to done here now. You can see that taking shape. Oh, let's get another flat on there. How does that look? I'll look at it now and see if it looks even. Not too bad. Not too bad. Take a bit, make it a bit skinnier. So let's take some more meat off. Like that. Getting pretty close actually, I don't want to get too skinny with that. Alright, let's do a clean up spin on that. So I'm going to, again, just let the knife just take a little, you know, gossamer thin sliver off the bottom there, just to get rid of the worst of the rings that naturally form from cutting. Now like that, and that again helps to give you a clean edge here. That's helpful for painting actually. If you've got a lot of fur in there, the paintbrush doesn't know where to go and it gets just derailed by 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 the bits of wood sticking up. So I have to try and get that clean because there's going to be a red paint on here and a green on there. Alright, now let's mark for the length of the stem. I've got ahead of myself with that, didn't I? Alright, so try and do it in a way you can see what I'm doing. Not easy, especially with these air gloves on. Let's try it from that angle. Let's make sure I get them the same length at least, you know. There we go. Oh, no, it keeps slipping. Alright, it's not there yet. Okay. Yeah, that's it. Alright, wiggle that. Make a mark, go around it again. That's the bottom of it. Alright, let's start. So, use my thumb again to push the knife in a bit and then, there we go. Go around like that. And I'm just going to keep doing this basically until it falls off. Well, what I'll do is I'll get it close to falling off and then I'll just snap it off. I've learnt from painful experience that if you just keep going, when it parts off and you're not quite sure when it's going to do it, you invariably stab yourself because the knife just goes flying through. So always make sure you're in control, I guess is the secret. And you can see how that knife's really taking that off beautifully. And I'm also trying to prep for the next one here as I'm parting, getting some of this wood out of the way. Always under control. See that? I'm using my thumb. This is acting more like a brake than a guide than it is. I'm not pushing with this at all. I'm letting my thumb do the work. That's a big secret to this carving, actually. I think is that more controlled pushing of against the back of the blade. That way you don't. If I'm just like trying to do it all with my arm, I'm just, you know, I'm basically carving from the elbow down, and it's not controlled. But with this, I've got full control over the knife at all times, so I can adjust my pressure and so on. Now that's getting really skinny down there, so in a moment I'm going to just part that off gently. I mean, I could snap that off now, so I'm going to do just that. In fact, what I might do is just turn that around just to clean that base up a bit. Like that. Alright, let's take a few more slivers off. But that is pretty much ready to be snapped off. And then just like that. And then you're not suddenly going through that. And I stabbed myself in the finger the other day doing just that. These gloves, like I said, you can see the blood where I went through. They don't help you much with stabs. They're more to protect you from the cross cut. Alright, there it is. So what's left to do? Clean up the bottom, the pip. Take the pip off the bottom like that, if you're left with a pip. I like to, again, just chamfer that a little bit. So I'm going to just go around with a knife, just take a tiny, you know, a 1/16 or a 32nd off that, just to give it a softer, rounder look. Like that. There we go. And another little tool you could invest in for this hobby is just a little brush. I'm just going to go around and actually let's take the glove off now. I've got more control then. Let's sheathe my blade so I don't accidentally grab that and injure myself. And then just go around, go with it to take any last little bits of fluff out of those boughs we cut there, like that. And then across the thing. And it does give it, it's almost like sanding it, just takes the edges off, softens it slightly. Do the bottom, and there you go. One tree. And then take yourself a push pin. Find the middle and push that in about 1/4 of an inch. Because what we're going to do is screw a little hook in there. And let's look at the finished one here just to show you what I mean. So there's a little threaded loop there. I buy these on Amazon. Very inexpensive, $5-6 for a pack of hundreds of the things. And you just screw that in the hole. So it's that hole, that pin that I've pushed in, that pin that I've pushed in there, picking up the wrong one, that I hold that while I painted it. I'll hold that, I'll paint it with the pin stuck in. And so when I've got all my paint and my glitter and I use a dry brush, meaning I don't have a really wet, a lot of water in the brush, I dry it right off. So I put the green on, dry the brush right off, put the white paint on once the green's dry, and just like that, with a very small amount of acrylic paint, just to give it a sort of snowy effect. And then when that dries, I paint the bottom with some red paint there, one of those tiny paint brushes, and then I actually cover the whole thing in glitter glue. I think you might be able to see that glistening with the glitter glue there, just to give it a little sparkle. Up to you if you do that. These are just my ideas. And then I fit these little loops. You just use a pair of long nose pliers to open that out, hook it on, close that back up, buy a backer for it, a little hob to hold it on, and you're done. You've got yourself a little earring. And of course the pin hole with these little push pins is just perfect for screwing that little fitting into it like that after you've finished the painting. So it's sort of dual purpose. And there you go, that's how you do that. So there you go, really simple little project, great little hobby. I spend a lot of my time in the winter making little carvings. I'll be doing some more in this series to show you how to make larger trees perhaps, or start carving some little characters, some elves or something, or a Santa for Christmas, tree ornaments, whatever you're interested in making. I'll offer a few different project ideas, but such a simple hobby, a way to sharpen with a very inexpensive strop, a little bit of stropping board, some strop, a flex cut knife, $30 investment, and then you can get this basswood at most hardware suppliers. You can buy it online, even in blocks, and then just cut the sizes to what you need. But very simple, a lot of fun. And so till the next time, hope that was helpful. Alright, see you soon. Bye bye.